Hello and welcome to this week's angling blog. Today you find me in search of roach on the feeder. Basically when the river's closed I had a 2-week break from fishing. It was a long hard winter and what I normally do is have a 2-week break from it and then go again at Easter time. This week has been a complete washout. It has not stopped raining. Today finally feels like spring's in the air, blue skies and the sun's up. There's a lot of colour in the water though, which I think will help us today. So yeah, we're going to attempt to catch some roach today on the feeder. My setup for the day is my 12-foot Drenham Match Pro feeder rod. On the line, £6 line, and I've got that running down to a running loop for the feeder. So what you do is you put a float stop on your line, tie an overhand loop, and what it means is your feeder runs in the loop quite easily. It's not a hard rig to tie, but quite effective if you're fishing. Like, we won't run into bream today, but sometimes if the bites are a bit finicky, as you can see there, it can run on the line like that. But if you start missing bites, you push it over the top knot and you've got a bolt rig. I've got that down to about maybe a foot and a half of £2 Bay of Pearl on, and on the end of it I've got a size 12 hook. Now it is a fine hook, it's not a big size 12 hook, it is quite a fine wire hook, so it's not one of your big size 12s, it's quite a small size 12 hook. But in this coloured water, hoping it's not going to matter. If I need to go down in size, then I will. So yeah, that is the setup for today. Before I set the rod up, I did mix up some ground bait, so we'll have a look at the ground bait now. Right, so with the water being so coloured today, and it is roach we're trying to attempt to catch today, there's a lot of colour in the water, so I've gone with 2 ground baits. The first one is Bait Tech Pro Natural Dark. That will add obviously darkness to the mix, but also it's very smelly, and in this coloured water the biggest problem we're going to have today is getting the roach into the swim. It can take a long time for the roach to move in, but when they do, obviously you can hopefully get a few. But that is why I've used that. And obviously sensus roach, goes without speaking, full of little particles of hemp, and it just, I use it all the time. That and Dynamite Bait Silverfish are my 2 silver bait ground baits that I normally use. But them 2 together today is going to be what I'm going to be plugging the feeder with. So let's have a look at the ground bait and see how it's looking. Right, so that's the ground bait that I'm going with today, and as you can see, I mixed that up when I first arrived. When I'm using ground bait, the first thing I do when I arrive on the bank, mix it up, set all your gear up, your rod, do the intro, and by the time you've done that, it's generally absorbed most of the water. As you can see, that's quite dry. So what I'm going to do now is add a bit more water. As you can see, it's quite lumpy. What you don't want is the big lumps like that, you know what I mean? That's just a big clump of food. It's going to overfeed the fish. You want a fine mix. So what I'm going to do is add the water and get it through a riddle. So we'll have a look at it once it's been through the riddle. Right, really quickly before I put it through the riddle, the quick test that I do to see if a ground bait is ready to go through a riddle is if, when you pour it into another bucket, if it leaves the bottom of your bucket clean, and when you pick it up you haven't got that much on your hands, then generally that's when I think it's ready to go through the riddle. So that's the bait tray. The ground bait's been through the riddle, and as you can see, no lumps. It's a much finer, animal altogether. But when you clump it together to fill the feeder, it's going to go together nicely and clump the feeder and hold that bait until it gets to the bottom, and then coat the bottom. Red Maggot's going to be the bait for today, and I've got some Cheshire Particle hemp seed with a few tears in. That's the swim. Now with feeder fishing, accuracy is the key, always key. You've got to be getting your bait in the same spot. So what I've done is I've lined up with that second clump of reeds right in front of me there. I'm going to be aiming for that each time, and I'm clipped up. I'm not doing a far cast, probably at most where that dark water is. You want to be casting an easy distance to cast that's in the right area where the fish are going to be, you think, and that's a nice easy chuck with this rod. Right, so feeders are obviously important when it comes to this type of fishing, and I carry generally 2. For this distance, that one will be fine to get me out there, 30 gram. But you can see the amount of bait that it holds is a lot more than the feeder that I'm going to be, well, possibly be using. I've got a similar one on, and for the first couple of casts, I'm going to make 5-minute casts. Probably 3 or 4 for the first 20 minutes with that feeder, just to get some bait down. As I say, if you look at the water, it's a huge water, so the key is going to be attracting them fish in your swim. Once they're there, hopefully get a few, and it might take an hour for us to get the first fish, you know, the first fish maybe, you just don't know. And with this coloured water, it's going to be a bit harder, but as I say, we'll start off with that one, making quite quick casts to get some bait down. As I say, it's not bream fishing, so you're not looking to get a huge bed where bream are going to come in. You're fishing for roach, so you don't want a huge amount of bait, but 3 casts with that will get a nice bed where you're casting. Right, it's taken about an hour, and out of the blue, the tip's just wrapped round out of the blue. I missed a bite, but it's the first sign that there's a fish moved in. And like I say, it's taken an hour, about an hour to an hour and a half. And like I say, just out of the blue, the tip wrapped round. So hopefully that's 1 or 2 fish moving in now. And literally the next cast after saying that missed bite, there's the first roach of the day. Only a small one, but it's a start. And like I said, once they move in, hopefully we can get a couple. But yeah, it's the first one of the day. Seconds now of the feeder hitting the bottom. It's the second fish of the day. Again, a small roach, but just shows, just waiting for them fish to move in. And 2 bites in about 2 minutes. Right, so 2 fish on the bank, and you'd say, you know, an hour without a bite, and then a couple of bites and 2 fish. You'd say some fish have revived in the swim at least. And this, when that sun's out, if it stays out, it might heat the water up a little bit, you know, keep them moving. But now it's about feeding and keeping the fish in the swim. Right, just into another one. The tip didn't half wrap round that time. Feels like a slightly better one. Yeah. And that's more what we've come for. That stamp. And you could tell by the bite it didn't half wrap the feed around. And yeah. A few more of them please, will do nicely. Right, so since the second fish, missed a couple of bites. So what I did, reduced the length of the hook length, not majorly, only by about, probably by that much. And on that third bite, you could definitely tell more positive. It was a better fish, of course, but just messing around with the length of the hook length now, because what I want to do is turn nearly every bite into a fish. That's the aim. So yeah, let's get back to it. There we go, a proper roach. And I say, you can see there in them couple of fish how the quality of the fish has improved in just them couple. Now if you get a couple of these moving in, it doesn't take long before you have a decent net of fish. And that's a lovely roach, that. Let's get it in the keep net. Right, and this guy's just arrived on the water, and I say he's in for a bit of a shock because, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's already taken. So he's in for a bit of a shock when he catches up with him. And I say it's not going too bad so far. I've not had loads of fish. It's been good to blow the cobwebs off after you know, a few weeks off. But yeah, that guy there, he's about to get evicted. And so the chase begins. And that male will chase that other male till it leaves. I've seen him do it loads of times on waters. And it'll just harvest it and harvest it and harvest it till it leaves its water. Strangely enough, that one actually come on with that one over there, which I think must be a female because it's leaving it alone. But as you can see, it'll keep chasing it till it goes. And as sessions go, that's a clonking roach. That it's a fish of the session, that I think. Absolutely fin perfect and lovely fight on that feeder. And yeah, after a 2-week break from fishing, after the rivers have closed and the piking's finished, it's a lovely way to get back into the groove. Let's get it in the keep net with the rest of them. Another nice roach. Certainly had a nice stamp. And in fin perfect condition again. A lovely fish. So one of the mysteries of fishing. Fish a swim, takes an hour to get them going, an hour and a half. 3 hours in, getting steady bites. And then in 2 casts, just snagged up on the way in twice. Solid, completely solid. And lost 2 feeders, so, and it, you know, begs the question, how do you miss it for 3 hours of casting and then all of a sudden it's there, whether something's drifted into the swim. But yeah, it was solid. It wasn't a fish, it was as I was reeling in. So begs the question. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and find a spot to the left. But the problem is with it, like you see, it takes so long to get them going that moving isn't really an option on here at times. Hopefully I've got a couple of fish in front of me. What I'll do is I'll try and find a spot to my left to see if I can find a clear patch and, you know, reel in a couple of times, see if I can find that. If not, we'll have a look at the final net. So as I said at the start, I was lining up that little tuft of reeds there in front. You got the big ones to the right, just that little tuft. And I've had to move the swim probably in that, I think it's in line with that tree there, but the depth change is noticeable. It's a good couple of feet deeper, and it's been about half an hour now and not had a touch, which is a shame really, because you know they were coming steady. But it's just mad how you can go all day and not hit it, and then 2 casts you lose a rig. And I've grated on it once already, casting just to the left, so whatever it is, it's quite big. But yeah, just a shame because they were coming steady. Not one a chuck, but you know, you were ticking over nicely, and the fish were building in size. You were getting some nice roach. And back they go again. Back down the other end. So we've not had a bite for about an hour since I moved the swim light, but it's been funny to see him go back in 2. That other one's going to be absolutely shattered. Probably why he can't take off. He hasn't got the energy to take off, probably. But yeah, sat watching the tip and just watching these 2 go back and 2. There he goes over to the other side. And there he goes following him. When he does get off the water, he just turns around, he just does a lap and comes back. So with about 15 minutes of the session to go, the tip on the new spot's finally gone round. And as I say, that's the problem. It takes that long to build the swim up again, that I imagine these had come on the feed now. But we'll call this one the last one of the day and we'll have a look at the final net. As I say, it's been an enjoyable day on the bank. Well, let's have a look what we've had. Right, so that's the final net of fish. As you can see, some lovely roach in the net, coming on the feeder. I'd say just a pity we hit that snag right in the middle, because these fish were coming just before we hit it. But yeah, a nice day on the feeder and getting back into the swing of things now after a bit of a break. Thank you very much for watching. It'd be great if you could like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time. Tight lines.